It's been the best part of 2 years since I properly got the Dodge out and used it. Like a lot of people, classic cars have just sat and you've tinkered around with them, but you've not really been allowed to travel. So this video is all about getting the car summer ready, really, doing some preventative maintenance, some checks, and doing some annoying little jobs which I've been meaning to do for ages. I'm Jonny Smith, this is the Late Break Show, and my Project Car playlist is sponsored by Haynes. If you haven't seen my Dodge Charger before, I'll put a link up above for the original video I did introducing how I came to own this car and why I like it and that sort of stuff. Needless to say, we've been together now for some 13 years. But this video is about getting it out of hibernation, really. There's a couple of important jobs, like although it started and I drove it from round the corner where I store it to here, there's a fuel leak which I need to address. I need to check a couple of other important things. It doesn't have windscreen wipers that work. The headlight doors don't work. It's got the doors. The headlights work, but the doors don't. And that's a job I've been meaning to do for ages. So those are things I need to check off. And there's a couple of kind of cosmetic issues that I want to do as well. So I'll take you through those, the highs, the lows. And I'm going to be doing this over the course of 3 or 4 days in between other jobs. Because I'm working on the car over the course of a few days, evenings, that kind of thing, I'll be self-filming a lot of this. And it probably won't all go according to plan. We'll see. I keep the engine relatively clean on the Dodge, and it doesn't leak any oil because it was only rebuilt 12 years ago, and mileage wise it's still quite young. I use this stuff actually from Carbon Collective. They're a company that do a lot of detailing and things, but this is citrus based, so natural, and it's good for just degreasing, like not heavily soiled bits of grime, but you know, like light soiling. So the block was painted in the original blue when we redid the engine, and I just want to spruce up. It's not like this is not a show winning car, but it's neat. And the other thing is if I keep the block and all the ancillaries free from oil and grease, if I do get an oil leak, I can trace where it's coming from. It's always a joy being under here because most stuff is pretty accessible, although the most inaccessible bit is the bit I've actually got to address, which is the fuel line has got a bit of a split, I think, and it goes up round the back of the alternator underneath the distributor to this fuel rail here. I've got to sort that and make it safe, and it changes diameter. So I've got to find a solution for that. It's not a major problem, I'm just not going to drive at any distance with fuel weeping out of it. So I'm going to sort that, and then I'll give it a service and I come and sort the wipers. And hopefully get the headlamp doors working, because although they're sort of pointless, when you turn the headlight switch on, the lights should come on and the doors should go up, but we'll see. So I'm going to try and do the headlamp doors because they're sexy, but you know, sort of superficial. But I'm meaning to fix those for like 6 years. Here we've got the dual snorkel air cleaner. I'm going to remove this just to get better access to the fuel rail, and I'll show you. So if we just lift that off and place it down here by the side, just temporarily, you'll see my brand new nice Holly double pumper that we put on a couple of years ago, 2 years ago now, which is lovely, and the Edelbrock Performer 383 Performer inlet. This chrome thing is the fuel line, the fuel rail as they call it, and then it goes into flexi, just underneath where we've put the coil, and then it goes down behind the distributor, behind the alternator here, and down straight underneath the alternator to where the fuel pump is. And I don't like this flexi bit. It's in an annoying place, and where the filter is, it's quite inaccessible. Okay, so down underneath the alternator is where the fuel pump is on this 383 cubic inch. And it goes around and up in this gap, this small gap where the alternator mounts to the block, to the head, and round the back of the distributor. What I'm going to do is I've taken off this fuel filter which I fitted, which obviously these are quite disposable. And what happens is the size of the fuel pipe from the fuel filter goes 5/16, and then onto the fuel rail here for the Holly double pumper, the aftermarket carb, it goes up to 3/8 of an inch, so it needs to be stepped up in diameter. And I've bought this small, I don't know if you can see this, bought this small but significant little reducer, I think they call them. It's a pipe reducer, and I've got some fresh fuel pipe as well, so I'm going to fit this, and I'm going to replace where the fuel filter goes, and I've got a different fuel filter actually, because I don't find it very useful where it is, even though in the manual that's where it goes originally from the factory. I'm going to put it down where the solid rail comes along from the fuel tank, down this side next to the chassis rail. I'm going to put it in there. Having sorted the fuel leak, and I've gone under and I've checked the fuel tank end for any leaks, because I'm a bit paranoid about that, it's made me realise I've recently got one of these. I've had this in the car for ages, old school, heavy, quite dangerous if you have a bit of an accident, fire extinguisher, but I'm going to do away with it for one of these. It's called a fire suppression stick. It looks like a flare, and I'm not doing a hard sell on you, but I've watched the demonstrations of these. That, so much smaller, lighter, you can put it in your glove box. That'll give you 50 seconds to put a fire out. 50 seconds is so much more than a conventional fire extinguisher, so I'm going to carry one in every car I've got. Okay, I'm going to replace this overrider. If you've watched the Dodge introducing video before, you'll know that when I'd had the car for 10 years, I gave it a little birthday, and I gave it a gold overrider. So I had this one gold plated. This overrider here, this has seen better days. In fact, it's had a, don't know if you can see it there, but it's actually had a bump, and I've got another one. So I'm going to take this one off, replace it, and then I'm going to machine polish the bumpers. Rule number one of owning an old car: always carry spares, even if they're not important. eBay can be a blessing and a curse, or an owner's club. I got this overrider actually from someone in the owner's club a couple of years ago. I've cleaned up the surfaces, I've cleaned up the fasteners, and that goes up there. I know it's not a big job, but the job I've been meaning to do forever. Okay, there it is, fitted, and I've put a little bit of wax oil on the inside just to protect it from any kind of, debris that gets stuck in there. You might have noticed that this Dodge has got two holes in the bonnet, and they should have indicators in them. They call them, or they used to call them, hood turn signals. They were an option on Chargers of this era, and other muscle cars too. And I bought an aftermarket kit because mine has never ever had the correct turn signals. It's just got the holes. So the car comes pre-wired up to a point for them. I've bought this aftermarket kit with the connectors, with the lenses, and the little brackets. I've had them sitting around for ages, and I need to do it. I really wanted to do it. So here's what I'm talking about. This is the underside of the bonnet. You can see this hole with these specific cutouts, tabs. Down here on the firewall area, you can probably see that connector. That connector's there from the factory, I believe. I certainly didn't put it there. And it will fit this. And the idea is then you can rig up these beautiful little lenses with the brackets, so the bulb pokes through there, and when you're driving, you look down the bonnet, down the beautiful dented bonnet, and the indicators flash. It's 11 o'clock at night, beautiful night, luckily, and I'm still here, still trying to get under the dashboard to get this headlight switch out. The headlight works, the headlights work, but the doors, the lift up down cool doors don't. And this reminds me why I haven't replaced it for 5 or 6 years. I've been putting it off because it's a shit job. It's a really shit job. Was that a wolf? I just can't get to the back of the dashboard. But under the dash here with my nice, managed to get the headlight switch, the original one, out. And it's got this, I'll show it to you in the daytime, but it's got a load of vacuum pipes next to it with an actuator, and the actuator's actually fallen off. It's down here along with a load of sort of remains of a mouse nest and hoard. There's the actuator. But I'll show you how it works shortly. But the switch works, it's just a little lever on the side of it which doesn't. Okay, I've taken off the old switch. I just thought, I don't know if this is interesting for you, but I thought I'd show it to you. So here's the original switch. This is a bodged actuator arm which we kind of soldered on, which should be like something like that. Because basically it needs to knock that up. When that goes up, that should go up. When that goes down, that should go off. And there's your pipes at the back to go on to your air pipes. This is the new Repro one. You can see it's all but identical, but here you've got the arm, the actuator arm. So when I do it, you should see. So it's, if it wasn't so characteristic for the Charger with its hidden headlamp doors, I would be furious at the fact that I've spent $200 on this. I've put the light switch in. The lights do work, that's full beam. Now I've got to make sure the doors work, so I've got to check, reconnect the air canister under here, which looks like a big coffee pot. And these are the compressed air lines which go to the back of the headlight switch. This here beneath my lovely new battery, my retro style XS power battery. This is the coffee pot, which is just an air canister, and I blanked it off when the switch failed, so that the headlight doors would go down. I'm going to reconnect that now, and hopefully when I press the switch on the dash with the engine going, it should open. What the hell, I decided to, I'm just taking out the old vacuum pipe, which has seen better days really. It's very, very brittle. I've just bought some new fuel pipe, boiled a kettle, put the ends in hot water, and then I'm going to route them back round there onto the back of the inlet manifold where it gets its vacuum from. Got it! One thing I'm not particularly happy about is when I got it out of storage, I don't know if you can see that, I must have left a little piece of chocolate in here from 2 summers ago, and we've had visitors from rodents. I've had a good look and I think the wiring is okay. A rug and a floor mat might not be okay. More rodent evidence. Damn you rodents. I don't like killing mice, I don't like poisoning them, but I'm a bit worried when it comes to old cars, because sometimes they can absolutely wreck the wiring, so I'm going to check under the dash. Right, this is the wiper motor. It's not a very exciting thing. I took it off in 2019, stopped working in spring 2019. You'd turn the switch on and it would just move about 1 inch and then it would never move again. I've been putting it off for ages because it's a faff, because it involves, although the axis is good at this end of the car, at the engine bay end, the rest of it, where it links up to the rods, is all under the dash. I don't like going under the dash, I get claustrophobic, so I'm going to do that now. So I taped up all the connectors when I took it off that go here. There's a big rubber gasket that goes around the around the wiper motor. I've cleaned that all up, put some rubber grease on it, and just done this hand tight. Then I've got to crawl under the dash now and get the rods, the arms in orientation, which is the faff. It's pretty obvious, I know, but you can't over change oil on a car. I change oil on the Dodge every year, even if I do 200 miles, because the cost of oil is so much cheaper than damaging the engine and rebuilding the engine, and I don't really want to rebuild the engine again. And it runs so well, so I've got an oil filter. The oil filter is really easy on the Dodge. It's just down there. You can do it standing up. It's brilliant. And I use this particular oil just because I've noticed an increase in fuel oil pressure across the board, even when the engine gets hot. It's really, really good. So I put this Lucas oil in. They're not paying me to say this. This is just the oil that this engine seems to like, and I just stick with it, to be honest. There's your oil filter. I'm going to clean the bottom of the engine up while I'm here, just with a bit of citrus cleaner. Just a little bit of that. These sill steps here, been meaning to take these off and give them a good seeing to for ages. Carpet set was quite new, and I'm going to give that a quick clean because of the mice that have been using it as a timeshare in winter. So I'm just going to remove these. I'm going to give this a bit of either a machine polish or a good scrub with metal polish, stick them back on. Bit of polishing, and obviously it's the original one, so it's seen some action. That's what it looked like originally. There. And then this end is what I've done. So bit of elbow grease, bit of metal polish. Yeah. Now this is, I've just given it a quick wipe over yesterday, but this is dust. I know it sounds weird, but I do like to protect the paint, even though it's worn. This is just bare, you know, with some dust on it, even though I washed it about 2 hours ago. It's under a tree. I'm going to use a slightly unorthodox method. I use a pair of pants and I use some WD-40. And I just use penetrating oil. I know some detailers are going to be shouting at me and stuff, but it makes the car absolutely smell wonderful. But of course it gets into all the nooks and crannies, all the dents, all the scratches. It just kind of keeps it looking how I want it to look. This is the kind of weather for the Dodge, and it really smells because all of the nooks and crannies in this car have been cavity waxed with just litres of stuff, and I just top it up here and there. I'll probably do it in a minute, but one thing I'd very much like to do, and hopefully I'll get a chance to do it over the next few days, is the tyres. I want red lines painting on the tyres. The white letters, I'm a bit over those. And you can't really buy red line tyres in these sizes, and red line tyres are ridiculously expensive. So I know a guy that paints them on with special rubber paint. I've been meaning to take it to him for about 4 years, but life gets in the way and it's not classed as a priority. Now there's one job that's been nagging me for ages, and I've tried to get the steering wheel off for a long time. I love the steering wheel, I don't want to change it, I just need it to be aligned properly. Should be like that, and it's been like that when I've been driving dead ahead for 7 years. It's a long time. So the plan is, I've actually bought a kit, finally. Tried to do it DIY and it hasn't really worked. So I've bought a proper puller kit to remove it. And when I take the wheel off, it's got a lot of grime on it. So I'm going to try and get in there with some intricate tools. It's probably easier to do it off the car. Try and do it off the car, and then the steering wheel will be a lot better. I do love the wheel, and it's in pretty good nick. A bit of pitting, but I think it'll live again. And you know, the rest of the interior does have some patina, so I don't want to kind of like make it bling or repaint it. So here goes nothing. Now I've got the bare wheel, and it's these two holes which I need to use. While I've got it off, I'm going to check the contacts for the indicators and the horn. This little bit here is the cam for the indicators, look. And mine is a bit dodgy. So I have bought another one actually, a turn signal cam as they call them. But I'm going to undo that and just check its condition first. Check the contacts, because you can always clean the contacts up while you've got it off. I've disconnected the battery, by the way, because if you don't, you can get an electric shock or you can damage your horn. Condition of the splines are good. This collar here of teeth, which obviously holds the wheel on, you want to make sure that's all good. Okay, so I've got the horn push. It's made out of like Mazak, I think they call it. Again, I'm going to give it a good scrub and a good degrease before I stick it back on. Going to give the Bakelite steering wheel a spruce using some of this stuff, which is like a citrus lemon, natural lemon based cleaner. It's just grime really from mucky hands and years of damage. So I'm going to work this in, and I can see it's coming off already actually. You won't see it on camera, but hopefully it'll feel better in my hand, because I do love this steering wheel. I really do. I'm not a fan of aftermarket steering wheels on many classic cars really. Call me an old funny duddy, but you know. These are now ready, degreased and ready to go back on the car. I haven't solved the problem of the wonky steering wheel. Gone to assemble it and I've realised, like an idiot, it's got a master spline. It can only fit one way on the column. All this time I was told that it was adjustable and that the steering had been adjusted and couldn't be adjusted back. So I'm now going to put the steering wheel back on. Okay, it's cleaner, but I feel like I've just wasted. A couple of hours. The vinyl roof was fitted in 2009, and there's a couple of edges where it's come unstuck. So what I'm going to do is the roof was zinc primed before that went on, so it is protected. I'm just going to stick some of these little edges down, and I've got a welding magnet, so I'm going to use some of this this trim fix adhesive, lift it back, spray it, and then leave it clamped down for 20 minutes, half an hour, and then move on to the next bit. And there's just a few edges that just annoy me, but again, little job, but just want to get it done. Okay, so I'm ready to go to my first show, to the Bicester Scramble, and I can't wait. I'm obviously a bit nervous, worked late a few times, didn't get everything done that I wanted, haven't got the red line tyres sorted, but it's not vital. The car drives really well, I have to say, no fuel leaks, headlamp doors work, I've got wipers in case the weather changes, it's supposed to change, so I didn't want to take any chances. So no, it's good to be back in it, and I love the smell of it, it absolutely stinks. So let's rock and roll. I'm so glad that the mice who invaded the Dodge during its storage didn't really cause any major damage. I must have just left, well I did, I just left some food, a little bit of confectionery in the back, and they found it and they've had it. This kind of weather, pillarless coupe, just let it warm up. These are the only two gauges I truly believe. Fuel gauge, as usual, shows half full when it's full. I don't use the car often enough to care. I just make sure I brim it every time. And I've got 2 spare gallons in the boot. You never know. I don't really burn petrol during the week anymore, so yeah, this is my yang. Got my switchable exhaust on the remote here. So I press number 2 and you get a bit more of a rumble. It's great that I know I've got wipers that work and headlight doors that function, oil changed, fuel system safe. At least if it does rain, for the first time in 2 years I've got functioning wipers, which is good. I think the thing that really limits this car, which I don't have a problem with because I like the engagement and I love the original feel of it, is the brakes, non-servo drums. You've got to be looking down the road, because if a modern car dabs the brakes late, you've got no hope. But I've said before in the previous videos about the build, because it's got brand new Hemi leaf springs in the back, and it's got new torsion bars with KYB shocks, it does actually handle all right. There's not a great deal of roll. It's not a heavy car. They're less than 1,500 kilos. When it's warmed up, you can do stuff like this. I really enjoyed the Bicester Scramble, great vibe. It's the perfect kind of show. Variety of cars, everything from post-war to pre-war to supercar to weathered, dented old muscle like this. Couldn't believe the amount of people that were interested in the Dodge actually, which is wonderful. It gets your mojo back. It reminds you of why we appreciate these things, why we spend time on these machines. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. What do you want me to do on the Dodge next? What would you like to see on this car? Maybe I'll take it for a bigger drive. I certainly want to get a few more jobs done. But now at least it's fundamentally safe, reliable, roadworthy, you know. So, yeah, thanks for watching.